At least 68 people confirmed dead after a plane crashed in the Nepali tourist town yesterday. It's the country's deadliest aviation accident in 30 years.
Hundreds of rescuers from the army and police have been deployed to the scene, where search operations are on for 4 people who are still missing. The government has set up a panel to investigate the cause of the disaster.
All right, for more, we are joined by Michael Boyd. He's the president and CEO of Boyd Group International. Michael, first of all, Nepal is often referred to as one of the world's riskiest places to fly. Does help our viewers understand why is it so?
Well, it's the topography. It's high altitude, and if something goes wrong with an airplane there, there's not a lot of places to go. You don't have alternative airports. It's a mountainside. So a lot of this has to do with the topography of Nepal, not so much whether their air transportation system is less or more safe than anywhere else. It's just a very risky place to fly.
And tell us more about then the challenges that the pilots have to contend with. And, we have to bear in mind sort of the safety record that we know about as well. Since the year 2000, nearly 350 people have died in plane and helicopter crashes in Nepal.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The real issue here is, again, when something goes wrong with an airplane over most places, they might have another airport to go in here. We're talking about short runways. We're talking about very tight approaches into small airports. We're talking about the need to really fly small airplanes. This ATR is probably the biggest thing you could fly there right now. So you're talking about a situation where it is the basic nature of flying in Nepal that makes it very, very, I won't call it dangerous, but a lot more vulnerable to accidents than other places in the world. Now, again, the government might have some issues with that, but I think it's mainly the fact that you just have a very difficult place to fly.
With all those factors adding to the country's flying risks, should visitors to Nepal avoid flying altogether? What are your thoughts on that?
No, basically, if you want to go to Nepal and you want to go out of Kathmandu to any of the beautiful places there, you got to get on an airplane. So it's a risk you take, if you will. So to say, if you're going to go to Nepal and travel through the countryside, air is the way to go. And that air is usually with small airplanes. It's into small airports. It's into difficult to operate airports. That's just part of the name of the game of being in Nepal.
Now, we understand there are calls for Nepal's aviation body to split into 2 entities, service provider and regulator. Do you think that's an important thing to have happen?
Yeah, I would say on the surface, absolutely. That's the way it was in the U.S. years ago. You got to split that out, where the people regulating it are not the people operating it or have anything to do with the people operating it. Regulators need to be, I would say, ruthless in terms of how they do their job and not worry about whether it hurts the marketing of an airline or not. And I think that's going to be very necessary, particularly in Nepal.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, we understand the Nepali government has worked with international agencies in recent years, including from the UN, to improve air safety standards in the country. What more can be done to improve the current safety standards and restore the confidence in the local aviation in Nepal?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the type of airplanes that are operating there. They're old, or not necessarily unsafe, but old, because they're not making these small airplanes. These Twin Otters that are 19 seats, a couple of them had accidents in the last few years. They're not making them anymore. So getting those things up to snuff, getting GPS in there, getting a new avionics for the airplanes and also navigation. Those are things they have to bring it up to get it up to a level where, once again, it's a more dangerous place to fly, and there's very few recourses when that engine gives out someplace over the mountains.
Given the difficulties of the topography as you've laid it out, almost you'd need to have even higher standards than anywhere else in the world to be able to operate there. But that doesn't seem to be the case when it comes to Nepal. The European Union, in fact, has banned Nepali Airlines from its airspace since 2013, citing safety concerns. Do you think more jurisdictions could follow? Is the Nepali airline industry under real pressure here?
Oh, it absolutely is. We've had too much, I would say, inappropriate government actions. A few years ago, they actually were starting to operate Chinese-made turboprops. They're as dangerous a thing as you can fly, but they got them free and they tried to operate them. I think we need to take politics out of it. And apparently, That's a big part of how they're overseeing their airlines today.
And just a quick word on the investigations before we let you go. What will investigators be looking out for with regards to this accident? We did see some sort of footage from a resident showing the plane banking before it sort of disappeared from view and eventually crashed.
Well, let's keep in mind the ATR-72 is one of the best airplanes on the planet, and it has a cockpit voice recorder, it has a cockpit or a flight data recorder. These people coming over from ATR, the manufacturer, they're going to be able to find out exactly what happened, probably fairly quickly. So I think from that perspective, we'll know what happened, and they can have remedial action if there's any possible to make this not happen again.
Oh, let's certainly hope so. Michael, thank you very much for your insight this morning. Michael Boyd, President and CEO of Boyd Group International.